Wow, good job. That was recall with the tone, sending to a place bed, and then having him, he downed on his own, but now we're gonna ask him to stay. Good job. Remember when you release him, he's free.
Got it. Stay.
What a good boy, Saint. Owner said he's triggered by the hair dryer. So that's something that you can use. We have the forced hair dryer.
Oh, for the dogs?
That's definitely a trigger we can work on. So his place command is pretty weak. I mean, owner said she taught it, but we throw a toy across the room and it falls apart. So I definitely see why he's here.
Yes.
We're working on his impulse control. Good. See, he changes his behavior. So he's learning and we're strengthening that command. Imagine how useful this can be if instead of barking like crazy at strangers knocking on the door or coming into the house, his owner could put him on place. Wow. See, now that we're limiting options, you see the stress coming out, see all the panting, processing in his brain that he no longer can just act on impulse. This is normal.
Yeah, and you should touch on the resource thing, right? Why it's our relationship, right? So it's anything that enters our environment is a resource, something he might want or need. There it is, he wants to go check it out. If he respects me enough, he's going to see that he wants it. He's going to say, because I want it, I'm going to assume that
My
he
owner
wants
wants it
that I
too.
want
Yeah.
it, right? He's going to let me have first access because that's our relationship. That's the dynamic in our hierarchy, right? So you've seen the second time when I threw it, he looked at it, he wanted to go get it, he stopped, he looked at me.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we want. Why is that important that I can throw a toy across the room, he looks at the toy and then looks back at me to say, you know.
It represents
what can I do?
anything he could want, and we're
Could be
starting
anything.
simple. It represents anything, a person, a dog, a squirrel, anything that could enter.
Everything,
Yes.
right? So even if it's something like she says that he's fearful, right? So he's fearful, he'll bark at things, but he'll often back up
Yes.
or whatever. He's still deciding, he's responding,
Yes.
right?
And we're saying we don't even want you to respond.
You look at me and see how I want
Yes.
you to respond, right? So just the response itself, and this is an interesting thing to think about and to know with a dog like this, if you're gonna own it. Let's say he sees something and he starts being reactive, like she said, barking and just a big fuss. Although he's obviously nervous of the thing, whatever it is, a person or a dog or whatever it is, he's still responding to it. So, but because he's afraid and it's obvious that he's nervous, oftentimes that gets them off the hook from punishment, right? Because, oh, he's nervous, so you can't punish him. You can't, right? That's not true. That's not true. We're not punishing him because he's afraid. We're punishing him because he's responding. He's taking my job. He's stepping on my toes as the leader, right? So he sees something, he goes, rah, 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 responds to it. Whether it's with confidence or it's with nervousness, he's still responding. So we're correcting the fact that he's trying to decide how. We correct that, we create hesitation. What happens, and you just seen it there with that toy. Instead of going for it, he hesitates and he looks at me.
Yes.
And that hesitation and looking at me, I say, that's what I want you to do. I want you to not do your impulse, not do the thing that you're going to do instinctually. Stop, look at me, and relax. That's the answer. And the way we get that is we correct the response. We correct that reactivity. So whether he's fearful or confident, if he's barking at things, we're correcting it. Okay?
Owner said at drop off she doesn't think his nervous system is very regulated, and I can see why she's saying that. Just because we are restricting movement means he's panting at the rate of, oh my gosh, I mean, this panting is crazy. It's not hot in here. This is all just stress from his movements being limited and changing his behavior. So what we can do to help him, to double down eventually.
Right.
To help regulate the breathing, slow the breathing.
Once he tries all of his options, that'll come naturally. So the panting, yes, he's not fully committed to either way, right? So he's not going to commit to his ideas fully because he has an idea that maybe they'll be punished, but he's not fully committed to following either. So so the wheels are turning.
Yes.
So he's
Should
thinking,
I stay or should I go?
Should I stay or should I go?
Yes.
Which is stressful.
Which is why we're still seeing trying to jump the fence, trying to get out of the kennel.
Right. He's smart.
Yes.
So, but one thing to know about him, and smart dogs generally are like this, he's manipulative.
Yes.
So a thing that you'll see a dog like him do He has plenty of ways to get out of confrontation, right? And one with the humans is
Charm.
charm.
Yeah.
So if I'm in trouble, if I'm doing something that I notice that you're going to catch me doing something wrong, I'm going to use charm to lessen the confrontation or to get out of it altogether. So dogs can learn to be charming to get out of it. So he's got that going. He also knows how to just do things behind your back too.
Yes.
Right? So he's smart enough to know, like, you're looking, now you're not. These are things you gotta realize that he's a bit manipulative, right? So he'll use that charm, he'll use your sensitivity
Probably what
to
works
get away
on
with
owners
things.
the most is the charm.
It works very well.
Yeah.
That's why they end up using it.
Yes.
Another thing that dogs do a lot. He might do it. I haven't seen a lot of it yet, but he might do it. A lot of dogs do. They just ignore. They act dumb almost.
Yes,
They
that's
act,
what he did to me on the ride here.
Okay.
He acted like he had never heard the word down in his
Right.
life.
So they'll act. They're really good at putting on the face like they don't understand what you're saying or they don't hear you. And the reason why they do this is because it benefits them. It really, really works out for them if they can just act like they don't hear you or act like they don't understand. And then, well, next thing you know, you go get a motivated that they want, like a piece of food, and now they're doing it perfectly. Okay, so you can see they'll use this act of ignoring to get out of situations, and they're really, some dogs are so good at it. They get diagnosed as being deaf.
Yeah.
You've seen this?
Yeah, we gotta take him to the vet, he's deaf.
Not deaf. Also, the charm, you're probably all familiar with that, the charm, right? And then you just get the whole like compromise thing where you ask the dog to do something and maybe they're like, I won't do it fully, but I'll kind of do it, right? I won't fully commit, so I ask him to go on the bed. He'll be like, I don't want to go on the bed, but I'll come over here on the couch and lay down.
Right.
Something like
I'm
this.
gonna choose where I wanna
These
go.
are all
but I
little
won't
things.
go where you tell me to go.
Right. So if we're seeing these little things, or like, you know, like the door or something like that, you go to open the door and the dog's boom, right out, right? Nudging right here, get out. All these little things add up to, now we're in a real situation, a serious situation, and the dog's
And he
not
won't
listening.
listen. Yeah, yeah.
So that's why we go after these small things so that when the big things come, if we go after the small things, the big things never even show up.
Right.
Right? And if they do, they're just so much easier to eliminate, to correct and direct. So yeah, I see a lot of the mess with him. And what she's saying, which I think she's trying to say when she says, you know, his nervous system doesn't feel regulated, that's what we identify as an unstable dog.
Yes.
Right? He's unstable, and that instability actually in the pack gets corrected.
Yes, it does.
Right? And if he's too unstable and the correction's not working with a dog, you know, the dog tries to correct him, but he's continuing to be unstable like this energy right here will get pack attacked.
That's why if he had stayed a street dog, he would not look like this.
No. No.
You see packs of street dogs, ask anybody who's witnessed wild dogs, and they are all calm and stable. They're usually sleeping on the side of the road.
Right. And if he was actually in a pack,
This would have gotten corrected a long time
he
ago.
can't sit next to a dog
No.
who's stable with this energy
No.
within the personal space. It'll get corrected.
And what happens is these dogs are pulled from their packs at 8 weeks, put in human homes, and humans don't correct it.
That's right.
And when
Human-
you're not correcting
one more.
something, you're giving it the green light, and it only gets worse.
Mhm. And then one more on top of that is not only do they not correct it, they often foster it. So what we'll
Pet
do
it,
naturally
cuddle it.
is we'll see this and we'll say, it's okay.
It's okay, let's
It's
go
okay.
pet him,
And
cuddle
so you're
him.
saying insecurity is okay, unstable minds okay, being erratic is okay. So all they hear is
Good
they're okay
boy.
with what I'm doing and
Yes.
how I'm doing. This is the proper response, is what they're getting. What we need to do is more like tough love.
Yes.
Right? We have to know what's good for the dog, and we have to say, don't do that, do this.
Right.
Why? Because I know what's good for you. But if we don't know what's good for the dog, which
Yeah.
oftentimes nowadays it's not so much common sense to understand what's actually good for a dog, and in most cases with little kids too, you see it. So we don't even know what to be correcting. We don't even know what should be corrected and what direction we should give them. And then let's say we do know, I have an idea, well, I actually don't know how to do a correction. I don't know how to apply a correction properly. I don't know what it looks like, right? I don't know what the follow through looks like. I don't know what a good dog looks like. I don't know what a stable mind even looks like. Isn't that normal? Right? So then when we're raising them, we don't even have what it takes. We don't have the education and the experience to bring them within you to go, we know what it looks like. Right? And I know how that is because I was there.
Same. That's how I got started.
Right, I just knew something was wrong.
Right.
I had a fortunate enough situation where I had an idea that dogs could be better because I had seen examples of like uncles' dogs and stuff where it's like I was impressed by them and I seen that they listened, so I knew it was possible. So at least I had that to go on and say, hey, I remember these shepherds and these Rottweilers when I was younger with my uncles that listened and did what they were told. It's possible.
Yes,
I
it
want
is.
I want my dog to be like that. And so that'll lead me down the road. But if you don't ever see any of that, and like that's even so rare these days
I
to
know.
see dogs that listen, right? Especially without training. My uncles did this, there was no training program for them, they just
Right.
raised them like that, right? So that led me down the path, but if you don't have those examples, you kind of get stuck. This will all go away.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see the
panting
process.
stuff will all
Yeah.
go away.
He'll melt into the bed, he'll be laying on his side, he'll be
We're not worried
barely
about
awake.
that. So yeah, he's unstable, but he will, and he's a nervous dog. But when he becomes a follower, we're gonna see confidence build. Okay,
One good
so-
thing about him is that I'm not necessarily seeing super stubborn.
Okay, that's good.
Like,
That's good.
yes, he is nervous, he is fearful, he is,
Because you can see super stubborn, like
Yeah.
really, really.
like those
bad.
poodles, they're stubborn,
Right.
right? But I'm not seeing that with him. Like, he
Not
got right
anymore.
on the bed for you, you know what I mean? Like, he's doing everything.
Yeah.
So each dog, you know, is so different.
So this is an exercise, right? So I've asked him to, we're in the room, I've asked him to stay there, but I'm moving around however I want.
Yes.
So this is another leadership. You'll see the way we use the commands is always a leadership exercise because in the past, this is the beauty of dogs, by the way. See, this is what I love about them is that they always kind of bring you back to reality. They kind of, if you allow them to, they will remind you of the natural way of the world, right? So in a pack, they're talking about hierarchy every day. There's little conversations, little rituals. They're just kind of reminding each other of the positions, right, every day. And so they do this around meal times, any type of confrontation for resources. There's conversations they'll have when they're greeting each other, play. They're always kind of just keeping things, keeping each other in check. So with us living with a dog, that's kind of how we're using the commands too, right? Yes, it's practical to have him on place, very practical. I can now do what I need to do without worrying about what he's doing, right? But also, it is sending a message to him as well. It's saying, you know, I'm asking you to stay here, but I can move around. That pretty much means that I'm in charge, and it also means that this is my house, which also means that when somebody comes to the door, it's my job to respond, not yours. So that right there, his compliance on being on place, is going to be correlated to somebody coming to the door, right? If he wasn't on place, and he's kind of all over, he's able to go upstairs as he pleases, he's able to go into this room as he pleases, he's able to just move freely however he wants. Now this is his house.
Yes,
And
which
now
would
he
explain
can-
the guarding.
If he's allowed on the couch, he's allowed on the bed whenever he wants, right? He can just jump up on there. He's going to guard it from the other dogs. He's high up in the hierarchy because
Mhm.
that is a high-ranking privilege
Yes.
to be able to move freely around the house, right? So he must be high-ranking. In his head, we told him, you are a
Do
general.
whatever you want.
You are up here.
Yeah.
The rest are down here. You can now correct them. And eventually, he's going to correct us as the humans too. He's going to get so full of himself that this is how confident he is, but it's all false. He'll eventually correct you too. He'll eventually say, I don't want you to do my nails. Or I don't want you to do this. Or actually, I don't like this.
I love you, but don't do that.
He'll correct you.
Yep.
Right. And because he's insecure, it'll be an overcorrection,
Yes.
more likely, by break skin or something. Right? And then we'll be confused because a minute later.
But I thought I
he-
loved him.
he's
Oh,
fine
now
with
he's
you.
cuddling with me. How can his tail be wagging? He just bit me. Like,
Right.
yeah,
So he will. That's the direction he's headed in. I don't know how old is he.
too.
Yeah, he's headed in that direction, you know. So we lead him, and you learn to love that. You learn to love that being the leader, you know, as a responsibility, and then you get a lot of benefits from it. You get a stable dog who listens, and all of a sudden the world opens up to him and to you, and life is better. But we have to maintain. The price to pay is for us is that we have to maintain leadership, which, you know, it's work. Reagan's our dog, who we'll have down here. I don't really tell him to go to place at this point. Remember, we're both trainers. We do it a little bit differently because we can, right? We have a lot of experience and stuff, so when we're telling you just put your dog on place, it's going to be easier for you to do that than what I do with my dog. he ends up on place. This is how I like to do it with my guy upstairs. I didn't tell him to go to place, but if he starts to move around the house, pick up and move around the house and start walking into the kitchen and checking things out.
Sniffing the counters.
He's in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Right? He's in trouble. Even if we're all just sitting here and then all of a sudden Riggins picks up and just starts sniffing around the room, he's in trouble.
Yes.
Right here, quick, he's in trouble. Right? He's not allowed, unless I've asked, said, Riggins, let's go do something with each other, or come with me and let's go do something. I want you to just to chill out, right? So if he picks up and starts walking around the house, he gets corrected. So naturally, he ends up putting himself on his dog bed. He ends up laying down, right? Now we do tell him to go to place and stuff, but you don't have to often, because that's where he defaults to now, because anytime he's off from that place bed and walking around, he's in trouble, because I never told him he could, right? And that keeps him in line, so now what he doesn't do is he doesn't bark when somebody comes to the door. He's not out the window barking, he's not doing that. It solves all of that, okay? Now let's get Riggins down here.
You see how tired this is making him?
He's exhausted because
He
he's
is
thinking a lot.
exhausting himself right now.
He's
All right,
thinking.
here, hold the camera. Let me go get Riggins. Riggins is in the kennel.
He's
That's
in the
why I
kennel,
have to
yeah.
go get him. Imagine that. We kennel our even when we're home.
Yes. Use the tools that we got to keep things nice and stress-free. If they're in the kennel and they're good in the kennel, then that means that we don't have to worry about whether or not it's these bad behaviors, pattern more bad behaviors in whatever it may be. So he's on place, right? This guy's on place. So if he gets off the bed to go greet Riggins, then he's gonna be happy with me. No, Riggins.
But on the flip side, we have to advocate for Saint and not allow Riggins to go up to place and bug him.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not fair.
The beauty of being a leader, right?
That is not fair. So we have to control the dog that is out and free. He's not allowed to approach Saint.
Yes.
So if you're doing this at home and you're like, oh, bring out another dog, it's like, you better have a way to stop that dog from going to bug him.
Exactly. You have to have control. I wouldn't allow Riggins in this room if I didn't have control.
Right.
Over him. Right. So.
He knows his job right now.
He knows exactly his job. Right. Saint is a good boy. Good boy. So from now on, good boy. So from now on, when I pet him and tell him he's doing a good boy, it's when he did something I approve of.
Yes.
It's, hey, I like what you're doing.
Not for free.
You gotta drop the petting him for free because we like it stuff, because we need to rehab his mind. His responses are wrong, they're off. So we have to use it as a reward, right? So, good boy, petting, praise, this is all when you're doing a good job.
And look how much it means to him now. He really appreciates that now. Look at Riggins flaunting himself. He knows what he's doing.
So, we've done this so many times with him. Okay, so he understands that he has freedom now to an extent. He can walk around this room. He can go pick up a toy. He can go, only in this context. He can't do that up in the living room, right? If he leaves his dog bed and goes into my kid's room and starts sniffing around, I am not going to be happy about that. And he knows that, right? But now he's taking advantage of this time to flaunt.
Look at what I have.
And you see he's interested in it. Saint's interested in what he has. Right? And so Riggins is having a hierarchical conversation right now by flaunting.
Yeah, so if Saint approached him, he'd probably give a little growl. Just to say, look, it's mine, you can't have it.
Right.
And we've seen dogs do that with anything. We've seen them do it with a stick, a leaf.
Yes,
Nothing.
create value.
Create value just to say you can't have it.
So they can have, and why do they do that? Well, again, they're just trying to sort out hierarchy, and this is one of many conversations they can have, right? They can try to hump each other, they can guard food, they can guard objects. It's to maintain and to create the hierarchy, which they're just designed to do.
Yes.
So they're just going to be, some dogs are designed to do it more than others, others don't care as much. He cares.
So does he. Yep.
They're gonna do it, right? So him flaunting this stuff is a way of saying, look, but I can have this, you can't. I'm obviously higher up. Now, if you want to get into the whys again, if you're a person where it helps, for me, when I was learning this stuff, the why helped me, right? The reason why is because in the pack, there's only a certain amount of resources. So, one of the dogs is going to eat more. If there was food, and every time it was mealtime, we just threw it in the middle and say, have at it, boys, right?
One of them's
One of them's eating more than the other.
Absolutely. Consistently.
It's just how it goes.
Consistently.
It's just how it
Yes.
goes. I didn't come up with these rules. But these conversations here, sniffing each other, humping each other, guarding things, these are ways to sort it out so they don't have to kill each other over the food, right? So there's constantly sorting it out. So
One
then
of
you have
them has
something-
to accept the lower role,
Oh yeah.
or else they'll keep fighting literally to the death
Well,
in the
listen,
wild.
as a guy who's had it handed to him, I've been beat up. I've been fortunate enough to have the experience of getting put in my place by people that were more competent than me in school, in my household. So I'll tell you right now from experience, it's not too hard to submit. When you know that somebody is more, you're just like, okay.
Yep.
Unless you want to go down that road, and you don't. So it happens naturally. They would have, if you felt confident, they might have a little scuffle.
And one of them
If one of
backs
them is
away.
way more competent in dealing with that situation, the other one's going to go, okay, so next time there's food, I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah.
You can have it, and then when you're done, I might come over and try to get some, if you're okay with it, kind of thing. Again, the big why helps me remember. Because in the pack, the best genetics need to procreate.
Survival of the fittest.
That's it, because that's what's best for the species. Maybe it's not best for the particular dogs who are on the bottom of a totem pole, but it's best for the species to thrive, right? So in the pack, the one with the best genetics should be the one to carry on, right? So they're gonna get the food. They're gonna get the girl, right? It's just how it goes. Now, if we let the bottom ranking ones have it all, which is unnatural, it's not gonna happen in the pack, right? They're not going to, when they're all starving, the bottom ranking one's not gonna get it. The one who's not competent at dealing with the situation is not gonna get it. But if for some reason he does, all of a sudden, that might not be so good. He's the one procreating, all of a sudden they're not as competent in survival. This guy's mind needs to be led, right? He needs the members to be above him to tell him when, where, and how he's gonna feel better. He's not a natural leader. Same with him. They're middle of the road dogs, right? They're middle of the pack.
Oh
They
yeah.
might
As
not
soon
be
as you start to
bottom
slip
dog.
up leading Riggins, he turns into a big old mess.
A mess, and not just inconvenient for us, but not good for his health.
Yeah.
Look how stable he is.
Yeah, this guy's
Same.
over 10 years old and he's not stressed at all. Do you know why he's not stressed at all? It's because he doesn't have to worry about any decisions. We make all the decisions for him. Imagine
Right.
how nice that is.
I mean, he's been stable for many years now, but when you first got him, certainly when I first met him, I've seen crazy time in there, and so he'll get there too. Good boy, he'll get there too. But these are important things to know, to understand why dogs do what they do, and so that we can understand why we need to do what we need to do to lead them properly. Okay? Good boy. Now, it's not all about keeping them in constant command. I'm not that kind of guy. Unless you have to, some people have to. Some people just have to keep their dogs in constant command during certain situations most of the day because their dog's really dangerous and maybe they don't have the experience to handle the dog in a situation that's not black and white, where it's like you're supposed to be on that bed, that's it. I do a lot of out of command stuff, right? So that I can see the dog's choices, so I can direct them, so I can correct them and direct them. So I'm gonna let him out of the command here, out of the place command, and just see what he does.
Make sure he's free.
Yes. Same. Free. Anything that has come to me, I like that.
Remember, there's resources on the ground.
I pet that. Good. Riggins, leave him alone because.
They've already had that conversation. If he can't hump him, what does he do?
Good. So you see them both, they would want to be doing that conversation with each other, but instead they're prioritizing me. So he's coming over, he's sniffing me more, he's taking my scent, I'm becoming relevant, but in a respectful way. He's respecting me too. He's not seeing me as someone that's just a host, somebody that he can just kind of have do the things for him. Like he can't open that door for me, right? Go get the food, right? Somebody that he can boss around. He probably loves that type of relationship, and if he's already had it, which I have a feeling he's had some of that, he's going to want that relationship. So if somebody else steps in the room that offers him that type of relationship, he ain't care about me no more. Like, I'm here with that person because I can control that
Yes, the gazelle.
Yes, I want somebody I can control. I don't want to be
The
controlled.
gazelle in the room full of lions.
But you're gonna want to go after. You need that respect. Okay, you need that. Good. Yeah, I think that'll probably wrap it up for the talking and videos
Yeah.
on him, unless something comes up. Some things might come up if we see them as we go off property, but I like to make at least one or two with a case like this. First of all, he lives so far away. Second of all, it's a rehab case.
Yeah.
We need to understand a little bit more than the average dog, right? It's good. So the big takeaway from this is going to be our relationship dynamic.
Yes.
We need to make sure that we prioritize being a leader, and we really let him know we love it when he's a follower, and we really don't like it when he tries to raise
Step on our
himself above
toes.
us,
Yep.
or even use charm to be equal.
Yes.
Watch out for that,
Yep.
because that means
Because he is so handsome.
right.
Yeah, it works, and they know it works.
Good. So you have to watch out for when they're trying to do that, because then he thinks he can then influence situations.
Yeah.
But then it's just gonna be a pain. You're gonna be nagging him more. You're gonna be doing all that stuff. So we're going after the small things, and we'll teach you to identify those things. And hopefully by the end of the training, by the end of the videos, you'll be able to identify all the little disrespects that he's probably doing on a daily basis that we don't maybe see. And then if you go after those, he won't feel entitled
Right.
to go after the other dogs in the house, right? And things like this. And just remember, when you say, hey, do you want to come up on the big fluffy thing that I sleep on? Or the big fluffy thing that I sit and watch TV on? When you offer him that, you're raising his rank, right? You're telling him, if you have access to these resources that I value, then you are higher up on the hierarchy.
And remember, we don't make the rules, we just tell you what the
Right,
dogs have
right,
made as
Right,
rules.
so he's going to see it that way.
Yes.
He's going to see that now I'm above these dogs or whatever. So just, if you do that, document to see if it changes him at all, which more than likely, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say it will. It change him. If I start letting him up on the couch, come on over here, sit, I'll tell my kid to get off, get out of here, kid. Let the dog right here, like, you should build that dog up. Certain dogs are going to take advantage of that, and they're going to then start misbehaving. Other dogs, maybe not. Everybody's dogs are different. Some dogs are just naturally very easy. So he's not one of those naturally very easy dogs, and neither is he. Okay? So there's certain limits to what they're going to be able to have as far as resources so that we can keep them behaving. All right? Okay. Open door. Doesn't mean you can just go out. I didn't tell him to stay this time.
Just another resource.
It sure is. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that one's easy to miss. Okay, looking at me. Good, looking at me. Break.
Free.
Good. I like that.
Use
free.
free.
Got it.
But obviously, as you can see, the dog understands break is also, either one will work.
I did use free earlier.
Yeah.
I did respond to it.